Hey, what's up guys? What's going on? Welcome back to Kitchen Tonic. Welcome back to another brand new delicious tasty recipe on this channel here. In this video here today we're going to be making a nice Guyanese classic guys. One of the Guyanese staples, and that is fish cake guys. And you can't have fish cake without fish. So we're starting here with the ingredients with some salted fish guys. What I have here is some salted codfish. And that's about 1 packet of codfish that I have in there. Moving on over here, we're going to be using some potatoes for this recipe here today, and what I have in here is about 7 small sized red potatoes in here guys. So I used 7 because the potatoes were really small. So yeah, what I went ahead and did, I went ahead and boiled my potatoes here. I didn't add any salt to the water because we are using salted fish and we don't want to overdo it with the salt. So I went ahead and boiled my potatoes here, and I then went ahead and used my potato smasher here, and I went ahead and smashed them up, and here we are so far. Moving on with the ingredients that we're going to be needing, we're going to be using 2 eggs here for some egg wash. We're going to be egg washing our fish cake here before frying them. We're also going to be using an additional egg, which we're going to be incorporating into our potatoes here to help with the binding effect of this recipe here, because you don't want your fish cake to start falling apart in the pan. We're also going to be using half a teaspoon of black pepper, as well as 1 teaspoon of garlic powder and half a teaspoon of cayenne pepper, totally optional based on your taste or your liking. We're also going to be using some cumin or jeera here. I have half a teaspoon of that, as well as some scallions here. And those are all for some flavors. I find that these spices really complement my fish cakes really well, so be sure to try them. Over here what we're going to be using are some all-purpose flour, as well as some split pea flour and some breadcrumb that I have in this bowl here. And that's what we're going to be using for basting this fish cake here prior to frying it. Alright guys, so what we're going to do, we're going to go ahead and start off with our salted fish, our codfish here, and I'm going to continue breaking them up. What we're just going to do, we're just going to take a fork and we're just going to split these codfish apart. And what I went ahead and did with this codfish here guys, as you know, it's very packed with salt in order to preserve its shelf life a little longer. So what you're going to need to do, you're going to need to go ahead and boil your salted fish or your codfish here twice. And yes, I said twice. I went ahead and boiled this fish 1 time for the first time. Then I went ahead and strained that water out, or removed the water from the pot. Then I went ahead and added some more water, and I then placed my fish here back on the stove to boil for a 2nd time. And all of that is done in an effort to remove most of the salt that is added into this fish here, because we don't want any high blood pressure or anything like that. And if I'm honest, it won't be enjoyable with so much salt in it anyway. So yeah, you want to go ahead and remove most of that salt from in there guys. Alright, and after you've sufficiently broken up your salt fish here, we don't want to break it up too small because we do want to be able to taste pieces of our fish here. We don't just want to taste all potatoes. Alright guys, so now what I have here over here is my potatoes that I went ahead and smashed up, as you can see here. What I'm going to go ahead and do now, I'm going to go ahead and add my spices to this potato here to give it some flavors. And I'm going to start with my black pepper, as well as my garlic powder. And I'm not going to be adding any salt or anything to this recipe here. Like I mentioned, we're using salted fish, and then the boiling process remove most of the salt but not all of it. So there's still going to be some salt in this dish here that's going to complement the recipe and the ingredients really well. Go ahead and add your cayenne pepper as well. Your ground cumin, and I find that the ground cumin is a nice earthy flavor that complements our salt fish really well. I'm also going to go ahead and add my green scallions, or my spring onions there, and we're going to go ahead and combine our mixture here. Alright guys, after you've combined your recipe sufficiently, you want to go ahead and add your fish into your pot here, or into your container, or whatever you're using. I'm still using my pot in order to mix these ingredients up, so if you hear me saying pot, I mean whatever container you're using. Alright guys, I'm going to go ahead and mix this up a little. And of course, you guys can use yuca or cassava instead of potatoes if you so please, or if that's what your preference is. I'm also going to go ahead and add my egg into my mixture here for that binding effect. We don't want, like I said, we don't want our recipe here to start falling apart in the pan. Go ahead and mix and cooperate everything here. Alright guys, so after you finish combining your ingredients in your container, now we're going to go ahead and beat our 2 eggs that's going to be used for our egg washing in this recipe here. Alright guys, so what I went ahead and did here, I went ahead and break off pieces of my mixture there, and I went ahead and roll it in an oblong shape just like this. You guys can roll yours into whatever shape that you prefer or that you choose. So what I'm going to go ahead and do now, I'm going to go ahead and dip this into my flour and breadcrumb mixture. Make sure that it's nice and coated. And then I'm going to dip it into my egg wash mixture here. Alright guys, I'm then going to place this into my frying pan to fry until about golden brown. Alright guys, and there we have it, our finished product of our fish cake guys. Looks lovely, looks tasty. I also want to mention that the egg washing part is also optional. If you don't want to use eggs in your fish cake here, it's not required. Okay guys, you can totally skip the egg washing part, just so you know. So with that said guys, thank you for watching. Make sure you try this recipe here and make sure that you come back another time, another day, for another brand new video.